Welcome to Lesson 4 of the Ultimate Resilience Building, Health Optimizing 7-Step Guide to Performing Your Best, entitled High Energy Nutrition. If you want to be more alive than dead, then why not eat foods that are more alive than dead? Health and wellness have always been about increasing one's adaptability and function, not just not dying. Think of it. What's your philosophy on nutrition? Do you think in terms of, I better make sure that I eat well so I don't have a heart attack or a stroke, and I better make sure that I get enough calcium so that I don't get osteoporosis? Instead of eating healthy in order to treat or prevent disease, why not eat healthy with the intent of increasing your health or function instead? In the words of Bernie Siegel, MD, living a life of prevention is living not to die. Let's define a couple of terms: food and poison. Food is a liquid or solid, usually of plant or animal origin, that contains or consists of essential body nutrients such as carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, or minerals, and is ingested and assimilated by the organism to produce energy, stimulate growth, and maintain life. On the other hand, poison is a substance that causes injury, illness, or death, especially by chemical means, or a substance that inhibits another substance or a reaction. If you and I took a trip to the local well-known grocery store and we had a list of groceries that we needed, let's say something between a Thanksgiving dinner and a Super Bowl party, and we needed some potatoes, a couple of frozen pizzas, some ice cream, turkey, and some corn chips. And we loaded up our cart and we got checked out, and then one of us started reading the ingredients on the side of the boxes. And of course, I know that you get your potatoes by the box. We might be surprised to find that a lot of what's inside of these quote-unquote foods isn't really food at all, based on these definitions. And so I ask you, are the substances that you take into your body causing you to be more alive than dead? If you want to know, check your ingredients and just ask yourself, you want to know what your food's been doing to you, what's your energy level, and has your food been more alive or dead? Let's define another term: bioavailability. Bioavailability basically refers to how absorbable and usable a food is. You've heard of the old saying, you are what you eat, but that's not necessarily true. I used to take full spine x-rays all the time, and many times we would see undigested supplements inside the middle of the intestine area on the x-ray. And if it gets beyond the stomach without being broken down, that capsule is doing minimal good at best. For example, if you've been taking a multivitamin for at least a week and your urine looks like some toxic, something from a leaking out of a dumpster in a horror movie or some Mountain Dew, if it glows in the dark, chances are that it is expensive urine and those nutrients aren't being absorbed like they should. So it can be helpful to think in terms of how constructively usable a food is before consuming it. The best kind of nutrition is nutrition that is readily available for nourishing the body. Sound confusing? Consider the difference between a vitamin supplement that is the result of isolating, heating, and synthesizing versus one that is in its original form, bounded with the enzymes and minerals as found in nature. If you were to consume a vitamin that is in a pure vitamin form, which doesn't exist anywhere in nature at all, your body is forced to either eliminate it, which is expensive urine, as I was just referring to, or go through the extra work of recruiting enzymes and minerals to create a meaningful molecule that is able to be metabolized. Additionally, only your body knows what normal is for you. Maybe it's 125/85 blood pressure. Maybe it's 97 degrees Fahrenheit for you and it's not 98.6. It's best to feed your body real food and then let it decide what it wants to do with it. Your body is the best war general there is for taking food and using it for surviving and thriving, as long as you're providing it with the right kind of troops that are already ready to do battle. Why would you go to war and then recruit? Feel like you've been left in the dark? Well, there's more. Here's a quote from Judith DeCava's book entitled The Real Truth About Vitamins and Antioxidants in 1997. From World War II onward, nutritional information has been based on research studies funded by the interests of the pharmaceutical companies, which are the manufacturers of all isolated and synthetic vitamins. Merck and Hoffmann-La-Roche produce the isolated vitamin fractions used in virtually all nutritional supplements, whether found in a drugstore, health food store, or a doctor or a nutritionist's office. Whole food complexes are just not as profitable. End quote. What's worse is that it's these same companies that have written the health textbooks and planned the ingredients of the foods and lunch menus in the public schools for the past 30 or so years. Maybe that strikes a chord with you. You are not alone if it does. And the truth is that that is only the tip of the iceberg. The good news is that your body is replacing its parts all the time through cellular turnover, and you can actually do something about it. You can do something about your future eating habits. Start taking action today by feeding your brain and belly the information and food you need to be a better you. To learn more about how to eat better, I recommend the book Back to the Basics of Human Health by Mary Frost. And to learn more about quality whole food supplements, just call and let us know. One of the most overlooked areas of nutritional science is a person's ethnicity. Everyone knows that Americans are more overweight than the rest of the world. We also have one of the most diverse groupings of ethnicity here. Our practice is in Rancho Bernardo, and Rancho Bernardo mainly consists of white people of European descent. So let's pretend that we have George here, and his ancestors have been off the boat for about 200 years, to the best of George's knowledge. And as far as George knows, he's a quarter German, quarter English, and half Norwegian. George likes to eat out at least a couple of times a week, and when he does, he reflects the same type of meals that he prepares at home. So half the time he gets a burger and fries, while the other half he usually gets maybe Chinese or Mexican. Up until maybe 50 years ago, George's ancestors had only eaten ethnic foods a couple of times a year, and now George does it at least a couple of times a week. The problem is that George's genes have been conditioned to digest certain foods for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it can be very difficult to metabolize what his body is seeing as foreign objects, because in a way they are foreign. They're not familiar with his system at all. And over time, foods that don't get broken down properly can leave an acidic ash, which the body's innate or an inborn wisdom has a hard time getting rid of. But when the liver doesn't work properly because of long-term abuse and processing or handling poisons that the body isn't able to eliminate, these acids are pushed away from the vital organs for survival. And those acids either go out through the skin or they get embedded in the fat cells, which makes the fat cells become larger and larger. In this case, George would be wise to cut back on ethnic foods for a while, make sure that he's not consuming poison in his diet, nourish his liver so that it can break down the fat without starving the body, and ensure a healthy long-term weight. Poor George. That doesn't sound like an easy task ahead. Well, the good news is that after a few weeks, he will begin to crave healthier stuff and maybe even be a little bit repulsed at the taste of some of the things that he's currently eating. Of course, the same is true for people of other ethnicities. Try to get a good balance of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates during each meal. Generally speaking, carbohydrates will give you a pretty good energy boost fairly quickly, and proteins take a little bit longer to kick in, but will give you energy over a longer period of time. Fats don't give you much of an energy spike, but they will sustain you. So if you feel like that your batteries are running low an hour before lunchtime, you might consider eating more fats during breakfast. Make sure to buy organic if possible. For some foods at certain times of the year, the difference between regular and organic can be night and day. For example, usually an organic tomato will have 8 times the lycopene, which is a phytochemical that is known to help prevent cancer, of regular ones. And lastly, remember that health is about improving your adaptability and function. I'd like to close with the following quote by Thomas Edison, which is stenciled on the wall at our office. The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. Thanks for listening.